is maybe it's on its way. So basically, what we want to do, we'll go down to item 5, and each person at the end of the table, you should have been able to get a trifold regarding the response team that's there. So did everyone get one? Chad, you want to maybe make sure everyone, you can browse through that. Donna Sample is not here, and everyone did not get one. So I think the response team next meeting is December 2nd, right? Again, thanks for attending. Our state's attorney is not here, so we're going to go with Sheriff Downing and just give an update on the Safety Act. Sheriff, I saw some on Facebook, you've been sort of tracking some of the things that's happening local and afar in Illinois regarding the Safety Act.
Yeah, thanks, Theodis. And Jim can probably, when he gets here, can probably talk more about what's happening in the courtroom, and I know he's mentioned it before at our Criminal Justice Committee meeting. It's really, I think, as we expected, from the standpoint of who they are keeping in jail, who they are detaining, if you will, to use the proper language, and who they're not. Part of the problems are the arrestable offenses that are being brought in. They might be arrestable, but doesn't mean that they're detainable. So they may come in on a Monday, and if you look historically, for those that get our custody sheet every morning, the weekend, our last 3 or 4 Mondays, we've had about 30 people in custody on Monday morning. And historically, about 28 of those get released. Because there are certain criteria. Obviously, there's 2 important ones that I know everybody in this room has heard us talk about, whether or not they're a danger to the community or themselves, they can be detained, or whether they're a flight risk, which, as Jim will tell you, is virtually impossible to prove. Not showing up to court no longer determines whether you're a flight risk or not. It's like we thought it would be. There's people who are out on our streets who probably should be in jail. And prior to the Safety Act going into effect, Jim and I worked a lot to make sure that people who didn't belong in jail weren't in jail. So we had kind of a head start on this, if you will. I think we were one of few counties in the state of Illinois who did. So our jail population really hasn't changed much. And after 2 months or 2 months plus, I guess now, we'll continue to monitor what we're doing. I guess I just worry about the biggest thing for me is the cost, and I don't mean financially. I mean the cost of somebody who ends up being a victim who shouldn't be a victim because somebody should have been in jail that wasn't, and the cost of law enforcement and what our guys do and what all police across the state of Illinois do every day who, may end up hurting them, again, not financially, more physically, where they end up getting hurt bad because somebody is out there who should have been in jail. Those are the things that I worry about myself. So our correction staff has done a great job. As I said, corrections has now become a revolving door. You get arrested, you come in, you get processed, you stay all night, and you get released the next day. So we are a revolving door at the jail. With the exception of a handful of people that we have detained. I think the report I gave at the criminal justice meeting At that time, we had 311 arrests, and I believe that 30 of those ended up being detained, of those 311. So
Like,
um,
so is that, you said how many? 300?
there were over 300 arrests, 311 I think was the number, and
30 was
30 were detained. And then even those that were detained, you know, the state's attorney then has 90 days to prosecute them. But some of those have even been released since then. So, again, there's going to be people who are out on our street who, you know, unfortunately will make somebody a victim when they should have been locked up. And that's, you know, the reality of it. It's what we talked about for 2 years. And forget about the cash bail. I mean, everybody has kind of accepted the fact that cash bail is no longer an option. And while I don't agree with it, it is what it is. The problem is the judges don't have the discretion to hold somebody who continually violates our laws just because of what that law is, whether it's a retail theft or something what one would consider minor if you did that for the first time. Unfortunately, I know that we have a few people who we have arrested 3 or 4 times in this quick 2 months since the Safety Act or since the Pretrial Fairness Act has gone into effect, who come in, get processed, stay the night, and get released the next day. And again, you look at that cost, that is financial, because they end up going back out, committing another retail theft on our businesses, and who ends up paying for that? So, again, the no cash bail is what it is. They decided to go with no cash bail. That's what they want. What my suggestion is and what my solution is to give these judges more discretion to be able to hold somebody who will create a burden on these businesses, whether they will, you know, obviously go out and do something else. We have a number of people who historically have, in the past, have had non-violent offenses that just accumulate until ultimately they do something so bad that they end up getting detained. Well, maybe that could have been avoided if we'd have held them. I don't know. We'll never know now.
So Sheriff, where are our lawmakers at with some amendment to the Safety Act? And I know we had.
Well, you probably saw, and you know, you probably saw the results of the veto session, which nothing was done there. They didn't even deal with the Invest in Kids legislation about providing money for those so that they can maybe have the option to go to private school. So nothing got done. From my understanding, there's talk amongst law enforcement about what we can do, just as I kind of said, but there is nothing that is forthcoming that we see that's anywhere near close. I know that, and I told the committee after Senator Sims kind of commented on one of the posts I made, Under Sheriff Gessner has sent emails to his office and invited him to come to our chief's meeting. And I get it. I mean, maybe he thinks he's going to get bombarded, and that's certainly not our intent. But, you know, he needs to hear it from people who are out there doing the work, not from other legislators who don't have a clue as to what's going on the street. And Under Sheriff Gessner has heard back from a scheduler a couple times, and nothing seems to fit. So, you know, at this point, we don't know if there's any interest in discussing it anyway.
Mr. Hunter.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Sheriff, could you give us, walk us through that incident regarding the hijackers, car hijackers that you guys popped, and what happened?
Which one?
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm serious. The one that was in Mantino?
Yeah.
What's that? The one out in St. Anne or the one in Mantino on 57?
Yeah, the Mantino.
Yeah, so the 57 incident, 2 carjackers came down, crashed their car right around Mantino. Got out, the state police responded, it was on I-57. Our deputies responded, and our deputies ended up getting them both in custody. They came to court. Obviously, the carjacking didn't take place in Kankakee County. I know that the state's attorney did try to articulate that they carjacked a vehicle at gunpoint in Chicago, but that wasn't enough, and they were released the next day. One individual had an Ogle County a warrant out of Ogle County. Ogle County came and picked that individual up, took him back to court in Ogle County, and he was released the next day on the warrant. So those two guys are out of custody, and for all I know, they may be back in custody now. I don't know. So, and that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a lot of fleeing and eluding. You know, we said it before everything went into effect that this would embolden people because there's nothing to hold anybody accountable. And police officers who try to make a traffic stop for virtually anything anymore, cars decide not to stop, and that puts the general public in danger, of course, if they drive away recklessly, and depending on what they are fleeing from, if they're a fleeing felon with a gun, you know, we may continue to pursue, and obviously that puts everybody in jeopardy too. So we have to use our discretion as to whether or not it's worth somebody getting hurt to get somebody in custody.
Mr. Chairman, just to follow up on the sheriff's comments, I serve on the Criminal Justice Committee, and to a person, actually every meeting I pose a question to the sheriff and the state's attorney and the judges and so forth in terms of the impact of the Safety Act to a person. Each and every person who comes before the criminal justice meeting says that time and resources have been exacerbated and extended and so forth, which has an adverse impact in terms of service delivery. You know, the status hearings, bond hearings and stuff usually take, you know, 15 minutes or so, and it goes on for hours now. And all the individuals, probation, sheriff's department, the judges, state's attorney, all of them articulate the same thing in terms of the adverse impact of the Safety Act.
Well, with the number of sheriffs, the sheriff and our police chief, is there any type of scorecard being kept of making an arrest because of we can't detain the individuals as a source of gaining information to help correct the ills of this Safety Act?
Yes, and I want to speak for the other chiefs in the room, but I know we are monitoring as much as we can. We're obviously monitoring the fleeing and eludings. We're monitoring repeat offenders. We're monitoring, you know, as much as we can, so that at some point we can, you know, and again, this isn't about gotcha, or this isn't about trying to prove the other one wrong. I mean, the issue is trying to sit down and figure this out, so that the individuals who belong in jail are sitting in jail, not because our statute says that you can't hold a person arrested for retail theft. So, yeah, we're tracking stuff. I'm sure everybody's tracking stuff.
So with the state's attorney, so where's the cases with the female and the young lady that was expecting and who lost her child, the baby? Do we know where is that? Is these?
I'm not sure.
There you go.
All right, I'm not sure what's going on with that. Jim's stuck behind a grant right now, so he's unable to make it today.
Okay. I won't have to text him then.
Ms. Foster? Yes.
From what I read in the journal, it said that her pregnancy had been determined that the fetus had died before the incident. so, yeah.
Chief Kipperwell, anything?
Just said, though, I believe they determined the fetus was deceased prior to the battery that occurred.
Okay. Anything else? Yeah.
Back a little bit off of, as president of the Chiefs Association, one of the reasons why we're trying to bring the Senate, I know that Senator Joyce and Jackie Haas have been in our meetings, to bring Senator Sims in, because he was an instrumental part of that Safety Act, is the fact that when people are committing the crimes, one of our concerns is when they're coming in, if they're having a drug problem or whatever, we're just allowing them to go back on the streets and still maintain that drug problem. If they're incarcerated, we have multiple programs, and Mr. Collins can speak for that even here at our jail, that we have multiple programs in our jail to help these people. But when they're committing crimes and we're releasing them, they're not getting the help. They're going right back out, and the recidivism rate is increasing. And I think that's one of the things we want to talk to the legislators about is, okay, how are we getting them help when they're being released? Because that's the most important part, because they're just going off and continuing, going back on their binges, or they have their mental health issues. But inside our facility here, you know, I know it's the jail, but inside the jail we have so many programs to help get them back on their feet and get them out in society. But that's one of the things that we want the legislators to work on, is we're not doing anything to stop them from going back out there to commit the crimes again. And we need to get them in the programs. And I think that's, as law enforcement leaders, we're trying to figure out what are they doing now, because we were providing that here at the jail. We're providing all these services. But now that we're letting them out, what are we doing with them now to help them out so they don't repeat?
To follow up on that, Chad, I attended the Dwayne Dean open house last week. They have a new initiative regarding the solar program, and it was a full house, and I think Mr. Pace attended. I think you were there too, Rosemary, and other individuals too. It's a program in which they provide the training, compensation during the training, even providing them with assistance for transportation. Also, the county board, with its infinite wisdom, has had allocated about $400,000 to $500,000 to KCC for the diesel mechanic program. The KCRO program has 5 slots designated for those individuals who come to Jerome Combs who are incarcerated. And that speaks to what Under Sheriff Gessner is talking about in terms of services that are provided here in the jail. They're incarcerated, true enough, but Lee Grant has been recently hired, and he's going to be following up with John Redmond. John Redmond has a unique ability to find jobs for guys who've been, and women who've been locked up, even finding jobs in Fortune 500 companies like Ford Motor Company. So to reaffirm what Chad has indicated, just because you go to jail, you know, they got programs, Thinking for Change, assisting them with job placement, working on their resumes, and doing things differently that won't bring them back, you know, to Jerome Combs.
I just want to make the undersheriff aware. Actually, we have 5 slots that we have been unable to place individuals with the Mid-American Carpenters Union for apprentice. So if you have any of those individuals, you could definitely share that with me, or I can provide you the information and we can move from there. Out of the 5, we've only been able to deal with 1 young man. And so I have a very good relationship with, again, the Mid-American Carpenters Union for apprentice. And they have actually provided all the, there's no obstacles, transportation, boots, anything they need to daycare, to accomplish, to be able to become an apprentice carpenter. So those.
helping them with their addiction first. We can't just put them in the carpenter's unit without helping them with addiction. When they're coming into the jail, into the booking areas, under the influence because they just committing the crimes on the streets, we have to get them clean, and then we can get them into those programs. Because obviously, you know what I mean? But my point is, there's nothing, because we're releasing them back out there to go right back to where they belong. And that needs to be the focal point of how we're getting these individuals help.
And while we're talking, one thing that Chairman Wheeler have done, he's provided money for the IRIS program, so where we can track people with referrals, throughout the different community-based social service agencies. So that's a good thing. Money's been set aside for that. And the first workshop or in-service was last Thursday under Mr. Beavis at the health department. So that's another good thing where we can track people who need services and make sure that they can be reached, whether it's Dwayne Dean, Helen Wheeler. So that's another good thing.
Chad, with respect to, while these guys or ladies are incarcerated, KCRO has a post-incarceration program as well, too, with Mr. Redmond, providing them assistance as well, too. Just because you've been locked up and you're discharged, there's follow-up in terms of assisting them as well, too. Also, during the Goshen public hearing up in Mantino last night, when they're in excess of, we thought maybe 325, but I think Natalie said maybe around 500 people attended. But during their presentation, and we had said even before the hearings and so forth that NAACP would want to be a part of their outreach and job search and advisory council if they have one. So we have a relationship with them too, and they made a commitment to provide employment opportunities for the underserved, and they mentioned that last night during their presentation in terms of the relationship with the NAACP, and also mentioned to Tim as well too that, and Francis Smith indicated that they wanted to do some things with the Hispanic community as well.
So our next meeting is going to be the 24th of January, so I think I'll have a conversation with our state's attorney and the sheriff, so we might be able to give a more visible update on where we are with the Safety Act from 2 months from now. And so I want to go around the room. I see Officer, I got Lieutenant Mason and Provost from Bradley. So you guys want to give an update? Then I'll get back with you, Kidwell, on where you guys are with your body cams, officers, and your squads. Thank you.
The body cams, and we had heard through ILEAS that there's some kind of funding coming out for body cams for new officers, so we kind of put our name in the hat on that. It helps to pay for the body cams. We have a new officer now going through training now. Hopefully we get some candidates to put a couple more in the academy at the beginning of the year, so automatically they come with a new body-worn camera. We have our own server right now. Obviously we'll have to look forward to what we're going to do in the future, but we have our servers on site. But just like we've said before, since we've had them, it's been a blessing more than it's been anything of a crutch, because we're transparent. We let people come see them when there's complaints, and they usually exonerate themselves. As far as like new officers, I said we're trying to hire a couple. We just had Sergeant Gray retire, so we're filled that vacancy. Sergeant Roger Tamlin was just promoted to sergeant. Officially will be the 27th at the board meeting, but he was in front of the police and fire with Deputy Chief Provost and myself attended. So trying to make some progress. We have 2 SROs in the schools now, one in the grade school since our last meeting. That's doing very well, and they're teaching the GREAT program again through the, is that ATF, right? ATF, yeah, through the ATF. So keep moving forward, despite everything else that's going on, but big concerns with people getting let off with these violent crimes, but just got to keep on it.
I just want to make the record show that Mr. Provost is the Deputy Chief of the village of Bradley. So is there any stories that you can tell on how the body cams with officers have improved relationships, traffic stops, and things like that.
I just fielded a couple complaints last week.
Microphone.
I just fielded a couple complaints last week on officers, and in-car video and body cam footage, I mean, it was unfounded based on that footage, and it was pretty obvious to the complainants. So, again, like Bob said, like Mason said, it's extremely beneficial to our officers, keeps them in check, and I think it keeps the public in check as well.
You know, but Deputy Chief, one thing, I don't know if everyone got a copy of the pamphlet here, but in history past, you guys can always call the response team, and individuals can come in and look at those videos, can help validate, you know, make sure traffic stops and things like that. Sometimes it's just better from another bird's eye view, someone that's not affiliated with the department. Right. Yeah. Chief Kidwell?
Cams, obviously, we've been utilizing them for just about a year now, or maybe a little over. They've been very helpful to us. You know that, Theodis, you're up there.
Yeah.
You viewed video. I know Steve's viewed the video. We're very transparent. If there's ever an issue, we're glad to let people look at the video. As far as our vehicles, I mean, I'm still trying to purchase squads, but as far as staffing, we're at 67, right where we want to be. So, I mean, we are anticipating probably a retirement or two in the next 6 months to a year, but other than that, everything's going good. We applied for the body cam and in-car video cam grant that was recently out there, so we're anticipating getting that. I mean, I hope we do, because it'll help fund what we got going now. So that's all I have.
Right. Chief from Grant Park, he's going to have all kind of money in the near future, so so you might not know what to do with all that money.
That's been the challenge all along. Unfortunately, the body camera issue for small departments now, without any influx of money, they want, in order to apply for the grant, they want you to purchase the body cameras first. I don't have a budget to support that. I'm very concerned, only having minimal number of one officer on the street at a time, that is a very useful tool that I need. So I have applied for grants, but unfortunately, again, they want you to purchase them first, and if I could purchase them first, it would be much easier getting a grant, apparently. I see in the future there's a lot of other things that I'm going to need as it comes to the Safety Act. We discussed that. I'm the coordinator of our training group in Kankakee County. We had some funds come in from some outside sources, and we fund our training group with that. But unfortunately, as we move forward with that, the overtime costs for departments such as mine, I have 4 times my budget already this year.
Wow.
So it's very difficult to abide by all these training standards that are coming down from the Safety Act and elsewhere, especially when it comes to part-time officers. Most of the guys, a lot of my part-time officers have full-time jobs. And it would, some of the requirement would require them to take a week off work to take this class. Well, they just say, I'm not going to do that, I'm just going to resign. So it's getting more and more difficult for even the larger agencies to recruit people. The smaller agencies are really falling through the cracks, and I really believe the end goal of the Safety Act is to eliminate small police departments because of the burden financially and personnel-wise, et cetera.
So, Chief, we have some individuals that basically this is their first meeting. Can you tell them about some of the training that officers are required to have?
Yes. First thing we started with was, in our training group, we did a rapid response training. We've done it at 3 different locations. It's like school response to school violence, et cetera. Our training group consists of Kankakee County police officers and all the different agencies. They all work together. We send them to a train-the-trainer class on whatever class is upcoming that then they can teach it. So we teach it in-house. We teach it at all different hours, all different locations. So we try to get as many people, officers in the county. There's 250-some police officers in the county, and we're hitting, into the high 150s. Kankakee does their own in respect to a lot of it. They have their own training officer. But what we're trying to teach people is like training all the way across the county, especially these guys that only work maybe 1 or 2 days a month, so that they're trained at least at the minimum level with everybody else in the county. And you get to make these acquaintances with everybody in the county, so when we do come together on an incident, they're very prepared for it. The second one we did was felony and traffic stops. Again, we get a pretty good response from our county officers all through the county were coming to this traffic stop training. I think it's great training. All the response I get back from the attendees is all very, very positive, to the effect of, we need more of this. Unfortunately, we are limited budget-wise. A lot of the police departments, they have multiple trainers. And for my agency, for me to send 2 of my officers, and I mean, I'm racking up 40 hours overtime in a week for 2 guys, like I said, blowing my budget. The bigger departments, it's even impacting them. So we have a reimbursement program, but it's extremely limited through the money we got, because we want to keep the bulk of that funding for equipment, and if we have to pay people to come in, we've got a calendar now for the months coming up, what we're going to train in each month, and we have to bring in, for instance, use of force. That's a required 8-hour training class. We'll bring in an expert. If we don't have one to do that, we may have to pay that expert to do that. So unfortunately, we're incurring costs that we did not anticipate, but the money that we were given to our organization has helped greatly. And I think, moving forward, looking at fundraisers and to keep that fund going, because that was a one-time deal. So we want to keep that fund going far into the future, so that this is a continuing thing every year and far into the future, where all of our officers are getting like training.
Thank you. I maintain that the NAACP State Convention was held back in September, and we're having other branches to come to our meeting. And so as the vice president of the Illinois State Conference of Branches, I maintain that our community, our branch, and law enforcement, we probably have one of the best relationships across the board to improve that bridge of law enforcement and our respective communities. So again, it's not every day that we have a state's attorney that you have on speed dial, your sheriff, and your respective police chiefs across the county. And I put additional information out because the sheriff had printed the 10 shared principles. So Ms. A.G. and some others who, the little card there is the 10 shared principles. So I was telling the other members across the state that each municipality, and I know we have a new police chief in Moments, and I met with Mayor O'Connor from St. Anne to start and be inclusive of their respective officers in chief to attend this meeting to bridge the gap, because everything is about relationship. And Chief Kidwell is a speed dial. He's going to call, and so a lot of times we're all in a pinch, and so I suggest that if any time that you can utilize the response team, please do so. And so with that, Rhonda, you want to just give Undersheriff?
One of the things I think.
And I'm sorry, Chad. And I know Donna's going to be contacting you because I think we have some additional members, and so we're going to have to get it based in somewhere between now and January, February, to bring them on board.
One of the things maybe we could add to the agenda moving forward, or even if you want to discuss today, the response team has been called. That's one of the things we have the relationship with you. For instance, we called. I think you guys were used recently. I don't know if there's a part of the agenda we can discuss when you're used, with your call-outs and kind of how you responded for those new members who understand how it works and the outcomes of those things.
Okay, I'll make sure we can do that. So, Rhonda, you want to just give an update on your roundtable discussion from your meeting this past week? Yeah,
Okay.
I enjoyed it.
Oh, good. I'm
Thank
glad.
you.
I've been wondering what you thought. So we had, for the second time, we welcomed back Reverend Tim Perry, Chaplain Tim Perry, who you are all familiar with, who has been supporting your departments. And he shared again on the national chaplaincy and emotional intelligence and working from that end. And so I'm not sure exactly what you're wanting to bring into this conversation, but he does speak very highly of our officers and their level, especially locally, of your emotional intelligence and humility to be working with our community. And so he's been a real bridge there, I believe, for us in that regard. Anything else you were thinking?
No, it was well attended and quite educational with this presentation. So, yeah. So the chiefs, we have Deputy Chief Provost, and I know the chief from Grant Park just mentioned about hiring. So Deputy Chief Provost and Chief Kitwell. So are we good with our hiring? We up with our number? Everybody is required, or?
7. I know that we have 10 African Americans on our department. We've got 6 Hispanics. We've currently got 4 individuals in the academy right now, so I feel very positive about where we're going. I mean, I think we've done real well with our minority hiring.
Thank you.
Can you speak to his local basis, since he's been there, you have a very proactive police and fire commission as well as administration in terms of the numbers you've hired since he's been around, about 20 some odd?
I think when Mayor Curtis came in, we had like 51 active officers. We had some people on light duty and stuff, but we've had to hire about 25 to 30 people in the past 2 years. So it's given us an opportunity to hire a lot of people. And we also did lower our standards just educationally, just to get more people, and I think that helped us actually. I know many of us, when we got hired, we didn't have our advanced, associates, bachelors, masters, and we were able to accomplish that, a lot of us, throughout our years. So, and I'm seeing that now. We've got officers going back to school, so I don't think the education part was critical to get them on, and I think it's helped us with our recruiting as well.
Okay, thank you. Deputy.
We're down a couple guys right now due to retirement. We have one that's in training, one officer that's returned from the academy and is going through his FTO program. We have a conditional offer out to a gentleman, pending the passing of his background, all that stuff. He will be hired, and then we'd like to hire. We're going to try and hire 2 or 3 more for the January academy, but we're got to get that approved for the village. But that's our goal. We recently just finished testing. I think we had 19 applicants, 17 tested, 15 ended up on the list. I think 4 out of the 15 are minority, and it's a little disappointing only 1 female applied, but she's pretty high on the list. So,
Right,
so
thank
that's
you.
where we're at.
Chief Springer, anything?
Obviously, they did a new hire. I have a very diverse department, department of 2 Hispanics. Between the public safety and the police, I have a diverse department of 2 Hispanics, 6 African American, 6 Caucasians, 2 females, and we're currently still looking to hire a couple more part-times.
All right, thank you. So we are on track with time. So any response team member, any comments? Myron, Doug, Natalie? Yes, sir.
Sheriff asked about when the last time you guys were used. It was probably when you guys came to our department, right?
Absolutely.
I don't think that was that what you were looking for, Chad?
So I would have Donna to do that in the next meeting, but that was our last one was a couple of weeks ago. Response team. Oh, yeah. You want to?
That particular incident, we stopped. We had a traffic stop, and there was some confusion on whether the young man should have been arrested. He had an actual arrest warrant for him. So the The dilemma was for the officers that he was 18, but Dr. Walters was informed that he did not have a warrant because it was quashed or whatever. Unfortunately, in the computer, he did have a warrant. We had to arrest him. So we ultimately arrested him. It did create some problems. Called Theotis, and or he may have reached out to me, but I had his team come in and look at the video. They were very satisfied with the response. It was basically a communication error, and we got it resolved that way. But I think it helped with you guys coming in, looking at the video, and being able to explain exactly what happened. The young man that got on the that we stopped did an excellent job. He did exactly what we trained him to in the traffic stop initiative. He went in custody without any issues. The officer treated him with utmost respect. I mean, she could have wrote him 3 or 4 tickets. She only arrested him for the warrant. And I believe the state's attorneys actually got him out of jail that night so he could attend the homecoming.
So with that, Undersheriff, with all of the social media posting, the response team was activated where I think maybe 8 to 10 members actually went and looked at the video to make a determination. So, yeah.
For those who are new here, that's what this is all about, the communication. I mean, that's what the strength of having that response team. That's why those who took flyers today, you know, that's an encouragement to be involved. It's the transparency. I know that's what law enforcement like. We're just asking the community like that to be on board.
Thank you.
President, could you, Kidwell and Mayor, speak to the response team's involvement with the 3 homicide situations over by St. Mary's, another incident in terms of how the response team was involved?
I don't know, man. It seemed like the sheriff, I mean, the mayor would be the expert on that one, on that particular day. He did a very good job there as we was diffusing all of, that was many moons ago, you were absolutely right, but we were in a mode of diffusing all kind of emotions that particular day. Yeah, so.
That particular day was, that was fairly early on for me.
Day of the year, I think.
Yeah. What was needed is, the biggest thing is a statement that needs to be made from the response team, because that day in particular, the law enforcement agencies were doing exactly what they were supposed to be doing, preserving a scene until the Illinois State Police could come in. It was determined at that time by Chief Passwater and their team that they needed some assistance from the state police for the crime scene. So it was really just keeping everyone back. That took several hours for the team to arrive. The public thought the police were doing nothing, that they were just, because the victims were potential, they were minority, the police officers were not treating the scene with urgency. It was really more of a protection of the scene, making sure that it could be preserved. And so the crowd got very hostile on a 100-degree day. There was probably 50, 60 people there that were screaming with the media. And at that time, it didn't matter what Chief Passwater said or what I said or anybody else said. It needed somebody from the community, from the response team, and then we did call in and ask, could you come here and speak to the crowd to try to let them know that things are being done correctly. So I think that would probably be the biggest thing with the response is just making sure that when everything happens, that a proper response gets out in a very timely manner. So I'm even thinking back, it made me think about with the latest incident with the traffic stop from running the stop sign. I know you guys reviewed the tape and everything, but was an official statement ever put out by the response team, or do they do that?
That was a statement, actually was written by Ms. Sample, but it wasn't released.
Okay.
That was a particular reason why.
Okay.
What happened that particular Monday city council meeting, so.
Okay. No, I was curious, because I think sometimes I can say whatever I want to say, Chief Kidwell can say whatever he wants to say. Sometimes it needs to be somebody from the outside of the city of Kankakee that might carry more weight with a particular group or individuals that don't believe that the city's doing the right thing. And so sometimes having that third party make a statement that we've reviewed it, we've seen it, we concur that everything was done correctly, may go a lot farther than whatever I have to say or Chief Kidwell has to say.
Yeah, I think they say timing is everything, and what happened with that particular flyer that day that came out at 5, almost 6 o'clock, caught the person off guard, because I think some individuals would have been at the city council meeting that day. But under Sheriff, the update is that, I don't know, have Doug, Natalie, have you guys received your vests? So each member now have a vest, as the meeting that you had with Donna about making sure that we can recognize those respective members. So I don't know if you probably need to get with Donna, get your vest, but you can be, yeah, Natalie.
From what I believe Donna said is that the vests are in, we just have to pick them up and pay for them
Yeah, okay.
individually.
Yeah, okay. Yes, Doug.
One thing I would like to add to this about the crisis response team is I think it's an organization that should be disseminated throughout the state. I think it's a wonderful organization. It's gotten a lot of positive response, and I think other counties would benefit if they found out more detail about this. It's come a long way in the last 5 or 6 years.
Yeah. You know, I was just thinking the other day, and when I go back with Lieutenant Mason, our sheriff, our state's attorney, we've been meeting since 2014 to be able to meet the goal to where we are currently with the, so that's a great thing. Sheriff?
First of all, the vests, it's the first I've heard about having to purchase your own vest. If Donna can get me a price of the vests, we would certainly pay for those. You guys shouldn't have to take money out of your pocket.
I thought you already have your vest. Well, you guys don't run down it.
Well,
I might have mine
like
in
I
my
said,
car.
what? Whoa.
Wow.
Shots fired.
Shots fired.
And then secondly, I just want to give an update, because I don't know that we've ever reported this to this committee, but we actually, thanks to Senator Joyce, we actually received a $150,000 grant for body cameras, and it was after our police officers already had them. So we now have every member of our correctional staff wearing body-worn cameras inside our jail. And I can tell you that as beneficial as they are on the street, they are 100 times beneficial in the jail. It's amazing to watch when there is an issue going on and they see that light flashing, knowing the camera's on, their demeanor changes significantly, which is a plus from what used to change their demeanor was the red dot from the taser. So now that green light from the camera changes their demeanor, and there's far fewer issues of taser activity and such things like that. So they've been very beneficial for us. We have no intention of ever getting rid of them. And our corrections staff actually is very, very appreciative of them, because I know they've helped make their job easier. And and I don't know who mentioned it, whether it was Deputy Chief Provost, but it was Lieutenant Mason, they protect our staff 99.9% of the time. And so we're happy to have them, and it's been great for the body cameras inside the jail, as well as our deputies obviously have them as well, just like almost everybody else.
Anything else? I just have one other request. For those who know Paulette Crink, our Rosa Parks of our NAACP branch, she's been hospitalized in North Carolina, and she's in ICU, and I'm just asking each one of you guys to put her in your prayers. And Paulette does a lot of work, not just for the branch, but for the Kankakee County community. So, again, happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see you on the 24th of January, our next meeting. So go out and enjoy your respective families, and as we all are blessed. Thank you. Have a great evening, afternoon. Thank you. Can we get a motion to adjourn?